I feel like you nailed it right there. That's definitely going to be the next film. Because I think, did Moose Jaws ever come out, or are we still waiting for that one?
I have no idea.
Cool. I'll see you at the 4:30 movie, Melody Barnegat.
I'll see you at the 4:30 movie.
What is up? Drive By Movies here, and you are watching
Fresh Releases.
My name is James.
My name's Blaise.
And today we are checking out Kevin Smith's latest film, The 4:30 Movie.
Most people come to movies to escape their lives, but people like you come here because movies make life make sense.
You're the coolest girl I ever met, and all I want to do is watch movies with you.
Is that so?
Mom?
What the hell are you doing sneaking into R-rated movies? You're in trouble, Missy.
I'm terrified by what's about to happen.
What do you want to do?
Have sex and get pregnant. That'll show her.
If that's what you need.
So, the 4:30 movie tells the story of a group of teens in the 1980s that spend the day theater hopping. So, James, this has kind of been like a Kevin Smith movie that I feel like's come out of nowhere. I feel like we were always up on like when the new Kevin Smith flick is coming out. And this one seems like it just came out all of a sudden. I feel like, what was his film before this one? I
believe Clerks 3 was his last film.
That's what it was. Yeah, and that was only last year, so it seems like this is a short turnaround. Obviously, his last, like, I would say, like, probably 4 or 5 movies have been, like, kind of lower on the budget end. So it seems like the turnaround's been a little bit quicker than years past, and especially with a lot of like his more, I would say mainstream like sequels that were always in the works but never really came to fruition, like Mallrats 2 and even Clerks 3 took forever. And it feels like the Clerks 3 that we got was almost a different version than originally was probably pitched, I feel like. Anyways, James, what did you think of this film?
So I never got around to seeing Clerks 3, so it feels like almost like a decade since I've seen a Kevin Smith film. The last one I believe I did see was the Jay and Silent Bob reboot, which, you know, was fun. I can see a lot of people disliking that movie, and honestly, rightfully so. It's really just made for people who are fans of those characters, and if you're just like even casually a fan, like you probably won't like it. I haven't gotten around to see Clerks 3, as I said. But you know, I liked when Kevin Smith was trying to branch out and do stuff different, even though I'm not really the biggest fan of Tusk. And Red State, while I do enjoy that movie, still not necessarily like a huge fan, but I'm glad he tried to branch out and do stuff outside the View Askew universe. And this feels like that nice return to form, and I was like all set for this movie. The setup is great. I enjoyed the trailer when it came out a few months earlier this year when I found out about it. And yeah, the intro to the movie, very natural, fun dialogue on the phone. And of course, it's Kevin Smith. He's got to throw in some fun cameos and just like, you know, actors that he enjoys working with. There are some cool ones in here, but overall, this movie's just pretty uneven, mainly with its characters. I like the main character, Brian David is his name, but his friends, you know, kind of get on my nerves throughout the movie. I don't see how they are like they just seem like they wouldn't be friends in general, judging from the types that they are. But you know, that's a whole other story. And then just, you know, there's fake trailers within the movie that are funny, but just are overstay their welcome, I guess you could say. What are your thoughts coming out of it?
Yeah, I have to say throughout like the setup, you know, that first 30 minutes, maybe even the whole first act, I was like, is this like a real Kevin Smith movie? Because you didn't see Clerks 3, but I have to say that was like almost an abomination of cinema in a way. Like it was and I like Jay and Silent Bob reboot. I feel like that just did the whole Clerks 3 better. So when you went back to the well for Clerks 3, that was just like a film where I couldn't even believe like what I was seeing the whole time. Like all the cameos are fun. It was cool to see them practical jokers for, you know, 3 seconds, but I don't think anything could carry that movie. It was just so crazy. But yeah, I thought at least for the first like 30 minutes, this one was like, whoa, this is like definitely has a different vibe than what you're used to for a Kevin Smith movie. It had like a cool setup, and even just one thing that really stood out for me was the cinematography was, I wouldn't say it was like the best cinematography ever, but I feel like that's always something that's been lacking ever since, you know, Kevin Smith's kind of gone on the road with his movies. It feels like the cinematography was something that fell by the wayside, you know, like if we look at the Miramax movies, obviously the cinematography was never the best, but it was still, you know, comparable. But at least for his most recent movies, cinematography always just was not something that you even really considered, and it felt like he didn't consider it for sure. But this one, it looked like they were at least trying, you know. It felt like this movie, you know, definitely had a look and a vibe going for it that was trying to, you know, have you dig into all that nostalgia core, I guess they call it now. But yeah, I felt like when it comes to like the second and third act, that's when it feels like the wheels are falling off, and how long can this ship go for, really?
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree with the cinematography. I was really taken aback. I was just like, whoa, this movie's very pretty looking and stuff. Definitely with the warm use of lighting and colors. I'm not sure who Kevin Smith used with his movies. I know, like, I'm not sure if Scott Mosier worked on this movie, but just like I know that like that was a big collaborator. I'm not sure if he's using new collaborators on this movie or it's just all different or something. I know with Kevin Smith, it's different. Like he has his previous people he worked with, still worked with them for some of his newer stuff, but I know, like, you know, a lot of their jobs like changed behind the scenes and stuff too as he's progressed as a filmmaker. But yeah, I was really impressed with that. But yeah, I just really loved the simple setup. It must have been a really cheap, fun movie to make. Like, and you know, this movie does feel very fun and nostalgic because I was a movie hopper growing up. Blaise, I'm sure you were too. My record seen in a movie, I think my record is probably just 3 movies. I would do 3 movies all the time. 2 was definitely the most common thing. Maybe I might have seen 4 movies in one day, possibly, but 3 movies a day was like my favorite thing doing in summer, especially when I moved to the Bay Area and didn't have any friends when I moved out there. The movies is where the movie theater was my friend, essentially. So, you know, just having that aspect of the movie makes the film very relatable and a lot of fun. And, you know, nothing beat like a summer day seeing 3 really good movies at the theaters with friends and stuff too. You just felt like such a badass doing such a thing. So this movie does capture that very well, but just doesn't make it so much fun just because there's a lot of friendship inner turmoil that's going on. Like I said, like the friends just don't really work. I don't see them like vibing. Like, you know, it'd be one thing if it was the senior year of high school, like the drama that we saw in Superbad, where it's just like, we're going to different schools, we're kind of aging away from each other, we're getting different, versus like, you know, these kids are probably, I believe they said they're juniors at certain points or they're about to become a senior. But just, you know,
I think they're seniors.
Okay, they were seniors, yeah. And I know that they kept talking about how the main love interest in the movie is a year younger than them and everything. But yeah, just like watching them, I just didn't really believe that they had been friends for all 4 years of high school, when one's like the ladies' man, one is the movie nerd, and the other one's the shy kid that gets taken for granted. But, you know, he has his moment of giving them the speech and the rundown and stuff. Like it felt too much like a movie, I guess.
Or like literally Jay and Silent Bob at times, it felt like.
I'm honestly surprised we didn't see their characters in the movie. I mean, I guess technically this is like a prequel to all those movies. That is a spoiler. Sorry that I just spoiled it without like the hashtag or anything. It's not really like a huge spoiler or anything, but just, you know, it's kind of like, you know, I was enjoying the movie. I still liked it. And then just like we had to end with that final sequence. And just like, I was just like, oh my gosh, like nobody's going to understand that reference if they're seeing that movie for the first time, Kevin. Like, we get it. You have such a huge, devoted, loving fan base. And I'm one of those people. But, you know, you got to make movies for everyone. And yeah, this movie could be for everyone, but there's just too much view askew stuff within it, though. It's where it's like, what was the point over that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get that. Honestly, that, yeah, the end, was it an end credit sequence or did it pop up just like before the credits even?
I thought it was just before the credits. It could have been like end of movie, couple credits,
Okay.
then that.
I think
can't remember,
but
yeah.
Yeah, I think it was. But yeah, I mean, this film, it feels like it's at least a step in the right direction. I did like Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. I absolutely hated Clerks 3, like literally to where it undid all the goodwill that I felt like Jay and Silent Bob Reboot did for me. I know probably a lot of people dislike that movie. I'm just guessing, but for me, that was a step in the right direction. This, I feel like it's a baby step in the right direction because it does feel like a very kind of, there's some, like you said, fun cameos in it. That there's a big cast. It almost feels like at times, but oftentimes when it focuses a little bit too much on Kevin Smith's writing and when it kind of feels like we're just treading water on things that we've already seen in Kevin Smith movies, obviously he's writing from the heart. But yeah, it just feels like it almost something we've already seen. Of course, that nostalgia worked for me. I know you said you've seen 3 movies in a theater. I don't think I ever even made it to 3. I definitely have seen 2, and I would say probably a half, and the half movie was the bridge to get me to that second showtime. Like I probably saw a total of 2.5, but oftentimes the theater I would go to as a young lad, like it was hard to sneak in there because you have to cross the concession booth. Like, well, to be fair, this movie probably would have been the hardest theater to sneak into. I don't understand how they were getting away with it. This is like an impossible theater to sneak from movie to movie. Is so small. But yeah, like I felt like if I was ever getting kicked out, I didn't have enough money to buy another ticket, and I wasn't trying to pull the fire alarm to get in or literally cause some get a felony or something.
Yeah, overall, I mean, honestly, there is some fun moments, and it might sound like I hate this movie. I don't. It's not a movie I'm gonna rewatch, I'd say. But I really appreciated Kevin, swinging for the fences with something. I mean, honestly, a lot of his most recent movies are mean something to his heart. Clerks 3, I remember in the trailer, had to do with the main character. I forgot his name, Dante. He has a heart attack, and I know Kevin Smith had his heart attack. But this is a nostalgic movie taking place in the 80s. I'm sure Kevin Smith did stuff like this. I'm sure he was bullied for loving movies, and maybe this conversation happened to him. But just, for a movie about movies, it felt too much like a movie, honestly. It's just a lot of references throughout it, and there, references can only go so far after, for a movie that's 90 minutes, I'm just I don't need full on everything needs to be related to a movie reference and stuff too. So this is a fun movie that I'm glad he went in. It just didn't necessarily work for me, but I'm curious also, when are we going to get a feature length movie for this Nun movie with Harley Quinn Smith? I'm sure Kevin Smith is probably going to go in that direction like Eli Roth did with Thanksgiving being a fake trailer.
I feel like you nailed it right there. That's definitely going to be the next film, because I think did Moose Jaws ever come out, or are we still waiting for that one?
I have no idea. It's been a while since I've listened to Smodcast and Hollywood Babylon and stuff, but yeah.
Anyways, yeah, I would say if you enjoyed some Kevin Smith movies, you might like this one. But honestly, if you watch Snack Shack, I feel like these are the same movie kind of. And I didn't even like Snack Shack, but it felt like the same. I feel like I was treading the exact same grounds. And I'm even watching that movie. There's a film called I Like Movies, and I feel like watching all 3 of those movies this year is just ruining it for me. Because even that one today, I was watching it, I'm like, dude, this is a rough watch.
Yeah, it's funny because I was thinking the same thing. I was like, this feels a lot like Snack Shack and stuff, but it's a year based in nostalgia, I guess. But yeah, we need these kind of movies, but just sometimes they just work and sometimes they don't. This one is just right in that middle, just kind of both. But what are your thoughts on the movie? Are you the biggest Kevin Smith fan? Is this your first Kevin Smith movie? Let us know in the comments below on what your thoughts are on the 4:30 movie. You can also help us by watching it through our Amazon affiliate link in our description box below.
And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and click that notification bell to get all our latest updates.
And speaking of updates, catch all our social media links down below for Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and also our personal letterbox accounts. That'll conclude this week's episode. Tune in next week for some new videos.